raising awareness of environmental issues. And all this week on Singapore Tonight, we're going to bring you stories dedicated to the cause. And tonight we start with a look at the e-waste situation here in Singapore. And I'm joined by e-waste expert Venkatesha Murthy. He's Managing Director of e-waste consultancy Vans Chemistry. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Venki, good to see you here today. So when it comes to e-waste, we produce a lot of it in Singapore. And in fact, let's look at some of the statistics here. In terms of megatons, Singapore is at 0.11. Tell me something about what that really means.
Yeah, first of all, e-waste is not the waste, it's a valuable resources. Globally today we produce about 40 to 50 million tons of electronics waste. So Singapore produces estimated about 110,000 metric tons of electronics waste. So which is significantly high because Singapore economy depends on the three factors, basically electronics, energy and environment.
Right.
So that's where the Singapore depends so much on the electronic products. Domestic, industries, institutions, all depends on the electronic products.
So this number here refers to this annual amount that we're producing. What about per capita, though, in terms of, per person? I mean, I'm looking at the number here, it translates to 19.6 kilos per person. What does that really mean, though? That's how much on average, we're producing?
Yes, about 20 kgs per capita or per habitant. Singapore produces about 20 kgs of electronics waste per habitant per year.
Right.
Which is relatively very high among the Asian countries.
I mean, I'm looking at the number for China is 4.4 kilos. The number for India, 1.3 kilos, for example. So that number does stick out there. So there are different ways that we can actually deal with all that e-waste. One of them is formal recycling. The other, informal recycling. Take me through the process of what we're looking at when it comes to formally recycling all this e-waste.
See, basically, the formal recycling have a certain technology, certain right way of doing the recycling, where they can able to recycle and put back the resources into the supply chain.
Okay, so that's an example.
That is exactly the example of a formal recycling. They take out the good components, they put back to the reusable conditions.
Right, so they're basically taking out, these are hard drives, as I understand it.
These
They're
are the hard drives.
Hard drives from computers.
Right.
And what about, what about this? Are we looking at...
These are the kind of set of box where they salvage the components, and these components can be used back so that they can do a refurbishment and can put back to the supply chain.
Right. Okay, let's look at the flip side of it. We've got informal recycling as well. Are these some scenes, I mean, I know these pictures are taken from informal recycling in China, but do we see scenes like this in Singapore as well with informal recycling?
I don't think so. Singapore will not allow such informal way of doing the recycling because we have a very good environmental protection policy, public health policy, land usage policies. And here illegal activities may not happen. Mostly these are all happening in the Southeast Asian developing countries.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we were, for example, to take, an old mobile phone or a laptop, you throw it in the trash, it will be incinerated if you do that.
That is exactly the problem with the informal sectors. They only pull out the right components or whatever the valuable things. The rest they may put into the bins, which public waste collectors send it to the incineration plant, which we know that if it is incinerated, we have global issues like greenhouse gases, climate change. Incineration gases releases the dioxins, furans, and things like that.
Right, it certainly does make it's quite a stark picture when you look at it like that.
Yeah.
What about the lifespan of all this, of our electronic goods, though, Venki? Because, this chart's showing sort of the discarding probability of typical things we might use. A laptop, for example, typically maybe we use it for 5 years. I know people who use it for a lot less than 5 years, but why, tell me something about that shelf life that we're looking at for common things we have.
You see, now the technology is changing very fast. So as the technology is changing, the shelf life of these electronics are going down.
Yeah.
So probably the handphones, if we take less than 2 years, we change the handphones.
So what would happen to the laptop?
Yes.
Take me through that process.
Yeah, basically the laptop, once functionally is not working, we call it the e-waste. Basically, it goes to the formal recycling or informal recycling, where they're trying to extract the main components like plastics, metals, and hazardous treatment.
Right.
So if it goes to the right hand, they can able to extract and put back to the supply chain. If it goes to the wrong hands, mostly they will extract only valuables, the rest go into the bins.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't have very, formal legislation right now in terms of e-waste. What might that legislation cover? Very quickly.
Yeah, basically I think legislations are very important. That will bring all the stakeholders under one umbrella. Like, for example, clean technology, the efficient way of doing the recycling, and the recycling fees. Unfortunately, we do not have a supporting incentive for the right way of recycling.
Right.
So, and next is the generally the awareness creations. People doesn't know that what happens when we end the life of electronics. So to create awareness, to recycle in an environmental friendly way, and also to minimize the air, water and air pollution, legal framework is very, very important.
Right. As you say, awareness is really key here,
Yes.
isn't it, in terms of knowing just what we're supposed to do.
That's
Thank you so much, Venki, for coming into the studio to share all of that insight about e-waste and the disposal of e-waste. I've been speaking there to Venkatesha Murthy.